Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum viewers. I'm your host S.M. Hali, presenting the program Defense and Diplomacy. The 7 months old standoff for the GLOCs, or the ground lines of communication for the NATO and ISAF supply route transiting through Pakistan, had been stopped following the Salalah incident of 26 November 2011. 7 months is a very long time to have stopped this, for which we faced a number of criticism from the international fora. However, this has finally come to an end after the US Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton rendered what some people are debating, whether it was an apology or sorry, but whatever it is, this has caused the stalemate to be over and the supply route has been reopened. Whether this is going to resolve the problem that exists between the United States, Pakistan, and will it bring peace any closer in Afghanistan and the region is something we have to debate. And for that, we have two very eminent panelists in our studio today. We have with us Malik Zahoor Ahmed, who is a former bureaucrat, who is also currently looking after a very important mission, but among other things, he is also the chairman of the Afghanistan, Pakistan, and US Tripartite Commission on Agriculture. Welcome, sir. And we have with us Ambassador Aslam Rizvi, who, keeping in essence the title of this program, Defense and Diplomacy, was a fighter pilot par excellence when he fought both the 1965 and 71 wars as a fighter pilot, and then moved on to the Foreign Service and has held Pakistan's flag aloft in a number of capitals. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Let me start with you, sir. The nuances, and we have gone in somehow into the semantics of the word apology versus sorry. And it's not just in Pakistan. The New York Times, I was reading yesterday, they have mentioned that a number of think tanks had already incorporated their thoughts into what Hillary Rodham Clinton was to say during her telephone call with her counterpart Hina Rabbani Khan. And they say that the A word, apology, was discarded in favor of the softer term, sorry. What, sir, is your opinion?
It would be recalled where we are today, how it came about. We've had a series of incidents in Pakistan involving the Americans. First, it was the Raymond Davis case. Then came the Osama bin Laden episode in Abbottabad, and then came Salalah. Salalah, it was the last straw, so to speak, which broke the camel's back, and very rightly drew a red line and told the Americans that this kind of violation of our sovereignty and territorial integrity will not be tolerated anymore. We sought an apology from them, and we did our own investigation. On their side, they did the investigation, and it appears that very clearly from our side that this was a unprovoked and unilateral action on their part, and therefore we sought an apology. In order to convey to the Americans our outrage and call it a hurt pride and violation of our sovereignty, we wanted to involve the parliament, which represents the masses, and we passed this on to them. The executive decided to take their support also on this issue. Parliament took its time and basically had two main things to say: that we should stop the NATO supplies until we receive an apology from the United States, along with other resolutions that were included. Because of the internal dynamics in both countries, like I said, in Pakistan we took the support of the parliament. In United States, being an election year there, they had also some compulsions, because when an incident took place in Afghanistan and President Obama apologized for that. Now they felt that if he were to again apologize for what had happened in Salalah, this may have political costs for him internally. So the whole issue was delayed.
But sir, a number of events took place otherwise also. Of course, the Bonn conference came exactly on the heels of the Salalah incident, which we boycotted.
Yes.
But then was the Chicago summit,
Yes.
which was, you know, touch and go. One day it was in, another day it was out, and ultimately our president went and attended over there. But this particular problem, the NATO supply route, did not get reopened, and ultimately it was done only after this apology came, or sorry came.
Well, yes. I was just going to sort of continue on that. The apology, when President Zardari went to Chicago, Foreign Minister Khan indicated that he contacted Hillary Clinton, and it was only because of that that there was a discussion, and both sides accepted the fact that we have to move forward, and we had to find some kind of a common wording, or call it something which would be acceptable for both sides to move forward. And so what we have is a kind of soft apology which has come from them, in order that, you know, we can put the whole incident behind us and move forward.
And what some people are forgetting about whether soft apology or sorry or not getting into the semantics, the important thing is face saving, and face in the Orient means a lot to the people of Pakistan. So you've been not only a bureaucrat, you have served in our mission in Washington, D.C., and a number of other important places. Plus, you have been an analyst on CNN. The various hats that you wear, how do you see this?
The ambassador has said a lot. In fact, he covered almost all the subject. To my mind, it was a bad chapter in the chronicle of US-Pakistan relations. There's no doubt about it. And not America alone, but even the EU countries, they have to swallow it with a bit of salt. Difficult for all of them. The 7 months we sat on it, giving the issue to the parliament, was not a good decision on the part of the political leadership in this country. And what we achieved at the end is the same, probably less than what we could achieve 7 months ago. It was wastage of time. There's no doubt about it. And there's no harm in accepting this kind of mistake which we made. When Hillary Clinton says that mistakes are made by both sides.
But when you say that we need to accept, I think I need to make a quote over here, that always look to future, past is just to gain experience.
Right. But this past is not a distant past, my dear. This past is just a few months ago it happened. So we are skirting around the reality and the present. So I won't say it's past.
But I'm sure we have learned lessons from it, because there is another saying that people who don't learn from history are doomed to be condemned to be part of history.
But we should not be sure that we have learned it, because the lesson is right. But saying that we have learned it, this is yet to be seen.
Anyway, sir, this supply route is actually just a very, very infinitesimal part of the problem. The real problems are much more concrete than this. What is your opinion?
I agree with you entirely, because the Salalah was not a big problem. As the ambassador said very correctly, it had a history, you know, it was all connected. And then apology or no apology, this sorry, it doesn't hurt to say sorry, and it was somewhere closer to apology. Forget it. I don't think it's a very important issue. Important issue is ahead and right now. One, that the Americans, not only the government, it is their think tanks, it's their media, the general public opinion, they are totally against Pakistan right now. And they say Pakistan is a perfidious ally, that we have been playing a double game. On the one hand, we have been championing the cause of the American war in this part of the world. At the same time, we are patronizing and turning a blind eye to the Haqqani network and to Afghan Taliban. They are the basic issue. Now, Americans saying that, you know, it was very expensive for them and going to the alternate routes, Well, it was chicken feed.
The Northern Distribution Network, to which Leon Panetta admits that
Yes.
it cost them $2 billion.
But still, in American, you know, it's a might, it's a big power. For them, it's peanuts, nothing. For us, it's a big money. For them, it's nothing. They're not. It's not important. Important thing is their exit strategy. It is not what is going into Afghanistan. More important for them is how to get out of Afghanistan and bring out all the heavy equipment which they don't want to leave behind in Afghanistan. That's the big issue. So that's why it's important to open up the ground lines with Pakistan.
Which is probably in Pakistan's interest, because we would like the Americans to exit from Afghanistan and peace and normalcy to return in some semblance
Exactly.
sooner than later.
Yes, and that we could do 7 months ago also. This is the main point. So it's a big two issues.
But as the ambassador pointed out, sir, at that time tempers were extremely high. The nation was hurt.
No, I don't agree. Tempers were created by the government itself. It's the folly of the government. It's my country, it's your country. It is very important that we make a clean slate in front of the people of Pakistan. Why give the issue to the parliament, and why then street should be allowed to take over the issue?
Let's take the obverse view of this, sir. Now, if you notice that the opposition parties are gearing up to come to the streets to sort of protest this. However, as Malik Zahur pointed out, and you yourself said so, that we need to move ahead. We need to head not because of our relationship, not because of any other reason, but because the problems are extremely humongous.
That's very true. The fact is that there has been, unfortunately, over the years, a very strong anti-Americanism prevailing. I think the last polls which were carried out showed 70% of the Pakistanis are anti-America. At the same time, it is very important to recognize the fact that both countries need each other for fight against terrorism. And importantly, towards the final solution, or the 2014 position in Afghanistan. So while both countries recognize this fact that we need each other for the future of Afghanistan, dispensation for the region and internationally, and against counterterrorism, our approaches on this need to be adjusted, need to be discussed and sorted out. Now, there has been the opposition. Main thing is that they say, and the rightist party, they say that the parliament had given certain guidelines, and none of those have been followed by the government. As pointed out correctly, this was not the prerogative of the parliament to make policies. It is the executive that makes the policies. It is the parliament which may fine-tune, review, and give guidelines to it. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the basic thing we had done was that we had stopped the NATO supplies, and then we had said that unless an apology is forthcoming, they should remain closed. Now the apology has come, whatever form it may have taken. So we should move on from there. And the other aspect has been, of course, they've been talking about what kind of fees we should be charging, etc., etc. Well, I mean, we have made
no,
it
but
very...
I'm afraid, sir, there has been a lot of disinformation going on about this. I was watching an interview of our Foreign Minister Hina Rabbani-Kar last night on the PTV itself, and she very specifically said that, you know, the figure being flouted by Leon Panetta, and especially when he says that Pakistan was doing this for price gouging, was a figure of $5,000 US. She said, not once has it been mentioned. Yes, we were interested that it should be revised, and that's what the parliament had also recommended, it be revised. But she said specifically that the figure 5,000 is somebody's figment of imagination.
That's very true, but at the same time, it has now also come into focus that the Americans are likely to help, you know, to make the highway from here to repair the damages that had been caused and to improve the highway from here to Kabul. So, I mean, this aspect is certainly there. Pakistan, right from the outset, made it clear that we were looking for an apology because of the violation of our sovereignty and wanting to ensure that in future this kind of thing does not happen again. And we have a commitment on the side of the Americans and the ISAF forces. Also, you mentioned a little earlier about the trust deficit which was prevailing between the two countries, and I think it came into a very sharp focus with the incident in October, when an operation was carried out without informing us. Now, one of the other aspect of this present apology and the statement made by Hillary Clinton is the fact that we have talked about intelligence sharing, and especially when it comes to counterterrorism, which seems to imply that in future, perhaps when the drones attacks are going to take place, it will be with the intelligence agencies sharing the targets together to minimize any possible civilian casualties.
Right.
So this is an important advantage also.
Malik Zahoor Saab, the ambassador has made some very cogent observations, especially about the Americans trying to rebuild the infrastructure, because it has gotten ruined in the past 10 years, and it's going to take another further beating with all this backlog also trying to go through. He's also talked about the coalition support fund being released and a number of other funds which were withheld. But you, sir, you have your finger on commerce also. We have, in fact, shown magnanimity by not even raising the transit fees. How do you see that as a gesture, sir?
Well, right now, these are non-issues to my mind. We have to, in order to, as you said and the ambassador said, that we need to look forward. It's important. But then we must understand two things. One, how the Americans look at it, and what are Pakistan's problems. Americans look at it from one angle. You said it very correctly. That is the deficit of the trust. Americans don't believe us. They trust us. They think we have been speaking from both the corners of our mouths all along and playing and championing a double game.
But sir, the word perfidy which you mentioned, it's a very serious word, and there are very serious thinkers in the United States. For example, I'll name Christine Fair, who is supposed to be an intellectual of Georgetown University, and I suppose you know her personally. In her latest column, she says that Pakistan Army is rogue and it is perfidious. In fact, the United States should have continued paying $140 million per month for the northern distribution network rather than insisting on reopening this route. But first, it should have sorted out the perfidy of Pakistan Army. This, sir, is nearly blasphemy.
No, that is an article. That is not the stated position of the government of the United States. Articles are good. They give us good information. It's all right.
But sir, Christine Fair has been appearing in the Senate and congressional hearings.
That's right.
On behalf of the U.S. government.
No, but we will come to it later, how to handle that kind of activity. As you said, that when you come to the solution, then we can discuss all these things. How to handle the think tanks, how to talk to the media, and how to in fact, try to correct the image which Pakistan is carrying in the world.
And in fact, the role which the Foreign Office can play.
The Foreign Office can play. Well, that is again a big issue. So, in fact, you have asked so many questions right now. I don't.
But very shortly, sir.
That the answer cannot be that short, because if you have big questions, then the answer has somewhere closer to the question. Foreign Office. Number one is the army of Pakistan, a loyal army, no doubt, patriotic people, but they have a very long shadow casting the formation of our policy. The ambassador knows this better than I do.
But you've got to come to the solution, sir, because otherwise we'll run short of time.
Then quickly.
Yeah.
Solution is not that simple. Our problem is that we cannot do away with Haqqani network. We cannot write off the
but we have to shed the Taliban impression that we are backing them. We are not backing them.
No, I'm coming to it. You cannot shed it like that. Americans are leaving, but they don't want to leave Afghanistan to the whims and caprices of Pakistan. And this is not an American view. This is the view of the entire world. That's why they are encouraging Indian footprints, both in strategic, economic, and other activities. So we are left with, we are sandwiched between Afghanistan, fully equipped with American help, and on the other side we have India. So what we have to do now? This government cannot solve this problem. This army is good, but they again just partners, they cannot help us. We need to form, we are in crisis. It's a war situation, my dear, and we are taking it lightly because they have given your important program only 30 minutes or 20 minutes. Issue is that we need to constitute a national commission which should invite all the politicians so that they speak with one voice. If we speak with different voices, then and nobody should be allowed to talk about this issue except for the spokesman of the Foreign Office.
Point taken, sir. His gist is that this particular issue, everybody appears to have an opinion, but we should have one voice, and that can come only through a national commission. What, sir, is your final words for a solution?
The agreement now, the resumption of the JLOC, has given us a window of opportunity to be able to meet the challenges and to try and move towards a viable cooperation between the two for the problems which are being faced by the country. The challenges in the past, confrontation was taking place from there. Now what we need to do is to cooperate. We should be seen by the rest of the world to be a facilitator and a cooperative country towards a solution in Afghanistan. And now that we have resumed dialogue with them, we have resumed Afghanistan dialogue. We can play a major role in having a dialogue for the final outcome in that region. So I think commissions are a good idea, but what we really need is basically that we have a framework and we can, within that framework, both sides, I think, would by now hopefully have learned a lesson that we can't have confrontation with each other. We have to cooperate. We have to do away with this mantra of do more. Rather, we should be doing to see how we can accommodate each other and
do something together
and go forward positively. Also on the GLOC, quickly mention that although we have agreed for the resumption of the NATO supply, but it is only up to 2014. Americans wanted it to 2024 when they are going to leave behind 3 bases in Herat and Kandahar and
Samagram.
And yes, 3 places there. So we have taken a position. It's been a good outcome that we have broken this 7-month cul-de-sac that we were in. Both sides should be looking for the future, how we can cooperate each other for a common goal for Pakistan, for Afghanistan, for region and internationally.
Right. So viewers, with that we come to the end of this program, and as our participants pointed out that 20-25 minutes is not enough to debate this very, very sensitive issue. But the important thing is that we have been able to highlight some of the areas, and the lesson drawn is that by permitting the NATO supply routes transiting through Pakistan or opening the GLOC, what we have done is that we have tried to reduce a little bit of the trust deficit. We have earned a place on the negotiating table, keeping the window of negotiations open. But more important is that we as a nation have to be united. We have to be speaking or addressing the problem with one voice, because if we are divided in our opinions, then we will appear to be divided as a nation. Because if you recall, not only us, the media has to play a role, and the Quaid-e-Azam had once said that the press and the nation rise and fall together. So we in the media also have a very important role. The opinion builders have a very important role, and also every citizen of Pakistan has to have an important role, because it is our future which we are talking about. The times are very, very demanding, and unless we show unity, I'm afraid we will be doomed. I would like to thank you, Malik Zahoor Ahmed. I would like to thank you, Ambassador, for your very kind and cogent comments. Viewers, keep sending us your comments, and hope to see you next week, inshallah. Allah Hafiz.